Never fear of missing out by clicking that subscribe button and becoming another member of the Babylonian family. Good day to you, Babylonians. My name is Songs of Rays, and I'm back with another different build to bring to you. And this one is another one for the Technomancer, but it's a bit easier for me to be able to make because obviously I'm not using the cannonball suit this time. So today we're going over a Cryomancer kind of build, where the idea is to be able to freeze everything in front of you and then rely on our blighted rounds and our firepower to be able to take out every single enemy and just deal that extra damage to the frozen targets. So what I'm going to show to you is how I've ran this build, how I've put this all together, show you all the gear pieces, and then show you the rest of the gameplay in the background so you get an idea as to how good this kind of gear is, and just take it from there. So, as this is a firepower build, we've gone with our trusty Earthborn Renegade Assault Rifle. Now obviously you can replace that with the Inferno Seed, and obviously I'll drop a link to that Assault Rifle in the description below, but I've gone with Dark Sacrifice to be able to give as much damage as possible. I've got a Death Shield to be able to fall back on with Shadow Comet to be able to deal a little bit of damage when my rounds are down. We've got for Crown of the Borealis Monarch because we're going for a 3-piece set. We're mainly going for bonus firepower at the start and long range damage where possible, but we also wanted 2 turrets for our cryo turret, and I've gone with mitigation from death to be able to give us a little bit of survivability. We've gone for the robe with the Icicle Storm because that is a top tier mod in terms of cold snap, and obviously freeze in such a large radius, on top of being able to explode and deal a lot more damage in terms of crowd effect. And then we've got Shatter to be able to increase our damage by 25%, which is definitely crucial to the build. We've gone for Waistcloth. I didn't think the tier 3 was especially good for this one, so I've gone with Captain Hunter and replaced it, and because it rolls with freezing boost, you get that extra 15% on top of it to your frozen enemies. I've gone for some purple gloves that give me some bonus firepower, some skills life leech, and some long range damage, and I deal extra damage to enemies afflicted with toxic, which is what the blighted rounds will be doing, and Dum Dum bullets because that was what rolled onto the gloves. Unfortunately, I probably would swap that out for something else that probably increases our firepower as we get critical shots or get some kills. So if you've got something and you've got the space for that, definitely add that in over the top of that one. And then I've gone for some more purple boots that increase our bonus firepower, some long range damage, and some cooldown reduction. These are the 3 I think for God roll in terms of this build. We're Toxic Lead because we want to be able to keep replenishing our magazine, and then Critical Analysis to increase our critical damage by 15% when we use blighted rounds. Now I think that's another one that potentially could be amended and could be changed over, because the one thing that this build kind of suffers a little bit is 30 rounds in a mag is a bit too on the low side. So if you can get something that either increases the magazine size, or if you're able to put the tier 1 perk that allows you to replenish more ammo when you get killing shots with the blighted rounds, I think that's possibly another great way to go for that. Now if we look into the skills, I've got some nice cooldowns on these. I don't think that you can get too much better with this, apart from the blighted rounds, which is always going to be a long cooldown, 53.4 seconds, so the idea is to never run out of those, so constantly keep your magazine topped up. And then I've gone primarily for a middle tree because Tech Shaman is basically where you're going to get most of your frozen damage from, as well as keeping you with a lot more health, getting your skill cooldowns. And I've gone for Exposing Toxin because the blighted rounds, as long as they are constantly up, we're dealing vulnerable, we're dealing more damage. That's the general gist for that one. Extra critical damage, extra armor piercing, reduce the long range down, increase damage to toxic, and obviously increase weapon damage as well because we are still a firepower build at heart. And then obviously everything else is just to increase our weapon damage or just to increase our damage to frozen enemies, and then just take it from there. So I think they've done a great job with this one. There may be a couple of places that I could amend this, but this was just looking at the skill tree, just putting something to pen and paper, and this is my kind of build that's perfect for crowd control. So if you're having a bit of trouble with how many ads are on the screen at the time, 2 cryo turrets are perfect to be able to, 1, inflict freeze so you deal even more damage, but also to be able to freeze them in place so that they're not all swarming you at the same time. And I think as a Technomancer, that is kind of the thing that we kind of need the most, to be able to control what range we're actually having our firefights, to make sure we are benefiting from that long range damage bonus that we actually are pretty much known for. So how do we get the most out of this build? Well, the main thing to really focus on is the fact that every time you chuck out a cryo turret or every time you activate cold snap, You're activating one of your gadget skills, which is the keystone for Tech Shaman, and increases your anomaly power and weapon damage by 40% for 10 seconds. Now this also does protect you in case you ever do fall into a down but not out stage, and this will revive you for 50% of your max health. So it's a nice little kind of saver there. You are a bit more reliant upon yourself, and you don't necessarily need to worry about your team. But essentially, to start off a fight, you want to figure out a line and say that's where you're going to be holding off for the time being. Now, the idea is I would chuck one turret to the left, one turret to the right, and then focus down the middle. And that way you've got all your angles covered. Your cryo turrets are freezing enemies in place. You focus on those ones with your blighted rounds to inflict toxic, to inflict vulnerable, to then deal extra damage to frozen targets as well. And that's primarily where most of your damage is going to be coming from. Now I understand this isn't going to be the highest damage output because top tree is a lot better in terms of just pure DPS. But this one offers a bit more utility, offers great utility to your teammates, because not only are you stopping enemies from rushing you and shooting you, you're also stopping it for them as well. And it also pairs great with the Borealis kind of set. Now I understand that it's not quite working as the community is expecting, where the 90% weapon damage bonus to frozen enemies, from what I can tell from most people, is saying that it's not quite working at the moment. So hopefully that gets patched. If it does, this build elevates even higher in my books, and may even kind of like rival that of top tree pestilence kind of builds with firepower. So yeah, I would definitely keep an eye out for this one. Definitely give it a go. If this is something you're looking to kind of build towards, then you want pretty much every single thing that's in the set for the Borealis Monarch, which also helps you with your top tree as well, in case you ever do fancy that you just want to go pure firepower as well. I will be honest, the timing that's in the background for running a chem plant at CT15 is definitely nowhere near the best. That's because this is the first time that I'd put this build together, that I put this with gear that I already had in my stash. I didn't go out looking for any other god rolls, and I just kind of tried to make it work. Now, like I said, there's a couple of things I would amend, and like I said back in the gear pieces, so if you can keep an eye out for those, then you can definitely make a better build than what I've currently got. But that being said, this is definitely a great place to start, and this is a great kind of fun build that combines firepower with skills. Now the main thing that doesn't really sell it for me in terms of a firepower Technomancer is the fact that it is just basically point and click. Chuck out a turret every now and then to be able to increase your firepower, and then just go to town with the gun. Now it's fun and all, and it's great to see all the damage numbers that pop up, but the main reason I then swapped over to a Devastator was the fact that I had no control over skills. It just felt a bit almost Mass Effect without anything special to it, almost like Gears of War, I guess. And that's not the reason why I wanted this game in the first place. That's not how I wanted to play. So this one is kind of like a bridging the gap between the two. It allows you to use your Technomancer and then use your skills on top of that to be able to have a little bit more utility. And if that kind of like is in your boat, if that's what you're after as well, then I highly recommend that you do pick up this build, give it a go, and then let me know how you get on with it. And that is it, Babylonians. That is the Cryomancer Technomancer build that I have put together to the best of my ability with the gear that I actually had. Now, I do think this is a great place to start. I definitely think it could do with a little bit more work, but in terms of a utility, crossing skills and firepower, combining the two together, I do think it is a great build. I think it's more geared towards co-op play than solo play, but that does not mean that it can't do solo play whatsoever. So if you find there's anything that you would tweak, there's anything that you find that works a little bit better than what I currently have, feel free to drop a comment in the section below. I'll definitely be reading through those, and maybe between us as a community we can find a way to make the best Cryomancer build that is out there for Outriders, and hopefully other people can take note of it. So I hope you've loved the gameplay that's in the background. If you did, and if you have copied the build and tried it out, drop a comment as well, and as always, drop us a like, drop a subscribe, keep yourself safe, keep yourself well, and I'll see you on that next video.